A podcast? Did your radio show get canceled?
Fire. Low down and filthy, but the discipline is on point. Schooled myself, made my own dojo. A cold flow with the whole dose of soul. Maintain composure, even in theory. An anomaly, properties undiscernible to mere peasants. Use weapons that level entire areas. Scarier than...
All right, this week on The $1 Million Plan, we talk to Tatiana. I'm interested to know what she thinks. She's on the other side of the country, which is the great part about, I don't know, having an internet show or a phone. I don't know. We've been talking to people on the other side of the world for decades. I like to act like I'm unique to this. Anyway, we welcome Tatiana to the program now. Tatiana, hello.
Hello, good morning.
So what brings you to the $1 Million Plan this week?
Well, I definitely have been trying to work towards being debt-free and looking for some guidance on how to get there, invest, and change our situation for the best for the future. And heard you were great at that.
Well, you've gotten bad information. So let's try anyway. So Tatiana, let's go through the details of your life. You are 46 years old, or am I just making up numbers here?
46.
All right, so you're 46 years old. Bree, if we can go full screen on that, if possible. There we go. Your gross annual income for your household is $78,000. Who's involved in that? How many people's income is that?
So that is just my income, and we did have an additional $190,000, but my husband was just laid off.
Okay, so this just got interesting. Now, so you had 100. We'll stay full screen here. You stated you had $190,000 more than your $78,000 income, and when was he laid off?
He was laid off January 27th, but he has a decent severance package, and he will continue to get that until the end of March.
And then how much? So it's a monthly payment?
He gets his regular pay plus his bonus plus all his PTO time off and additional 4 weeks on top of that.
Holy cow! So, but not in a chunk. It was in a monthly payments.
Yeah, right. So on a regular weekly pay cycle until the end of March.
And you're 46. How old is he?
Same age.
Okay. And is he in a field which he can find employment once again?
He is. He is a software engineer with a computer science degree, and he's been in VP and senior director level management.
So I know this is not the point of our show today, but it's always important to point out fun facts. That's a field where not only are there good jobs, there are good paying jobs, and there's almost more jobs than there are people in that field. Would you agree with that?
Correct.
Yeah. So you guys aren't panicking by any means.
Not yet, but we are looking at nearby states because there's not as many tech jobs in Arizona.
Okay. So that's interesting because then you're talking about uprooting lifestyle and it affects housing and transportation. What's your stress level right now? I mean, 1 to 10, 10 being you're freaking out. Where are you at?
About a month ago, I was totally freaking out.
Okay.
But we were very strategic in what we needed to do because at that time our financial situation was not good. Our emergency savings was not where it should have been for our income level, and we had to move some things around, and I feel a little bit better.
Sure.
I will feel better once he has a job, but he does have some interviews lined up. So yeah.
So my question, my $1 million question, which is a different question than I usually ask, is what was your lifestyle like prior to him getting laid off? Were you living at your means, below your means, above your means? Where were you?
Well, we had, for the first time in our lives, put ourselves on a budget last July.
Okay. Using
an app, and we're really trying to reduce our lifestyle, but I can't say we've done a great job at it. I mean, we're empty nesters with a home, 2 incomes with the flexibility to pretty much do whatever we want. So, I mean, I did buy a new car last year, and he has motorcycle and a boat, and
Man, he can get around.
spoil our grandchildren. So there's that.
What is he, James Bond? He's got a boat, a motorcycle. Does he have like a paraglider too? Like, what are we dealing with?
We have stand-up paddle boards, not as exciting as paragliding, but we like being on the water. So
Can I ask
and we scuba dive.
Let me ask a really dumb question, and this is I'm known for my dumb questions. I'm sort of, if you look on my Wikipedia page, it says asks dumb questions. It probably does, to be honest. So where do you go on the water in Arizona? Is there a bunch of water in Arizona? What am I missing?
Yeah, so we like to call them lakes, but in comparison to what the Midwest calls a lake,
Okay.
it's more like a pond.
Okay, that's fair.
And only when there's rain. So we actually moved to an area in Arizona which is close to a lake.
Yeah.
But it's, seasonally at a level where we can actually get in the water.
So wait, your boats and paddle boards become usable after it rains.
Right.
Okay, I mean, I'm not
By
judging.
the
I don't
end
want
of
you to
summer,
think I'm judging. That sounds a little crazy.
No, like by the end of summer, the water levels are so low, you're hitting rocks.
So like the value of like if you're like maybe we'll sell the boat, you have to wait until it rains and be like on a really rainy day, you jump on Craigslist and you're like, hey, we got a boat if anybody wants to use it while it's raining.
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's that situation where you're the happiest when you buy the boat and the happiest when you sell it.
Totally.
So it is on the list of things in case we can't find a new job.
That's always that's always my advice when I'm like, hey, don't buy a boat. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. You got 30 grand in savings or so, or am I making that number up?
About 35 in emergency savings and 7,000 in our HSA.
Okay. Yeah, man. So this is interesting, right? You've got until the end of March from a cash flow standpoint to get stabilized, but then beyond that, from the assets set back, it gets a little nerve-wracking.
Right. So we ended up also, I took $10K out of my annuity. It was like penalty-free, and used that to pay off my daughter's college tuition. She's at a private university, and this is her last semester.
Okay.
And that was a good $2,300 a month.
Right.
Shocker. She said, yeah. So, and then we paid off our Parent Plus loan and a furniture zero-interest loan because we were, trying to leverage, getting rid of the debt and also throwing down cash for whatever may come.
All right, so I like this. By the way, in July, you said you basically what you said is that in July you started giving a damn about budgeting. Like, what led to that? Like,
pretty much.
Yeah. Why? What happened?
I was sick and tired of making lots of money, but not having really enough to do like a really nice vacation or, we've been married for 27 years.
Wow.
And it's like, right. So it was like we had only been debt-free one other time in our lives, and that's when my husband went back to school full-time when he was 30. And so lifestyle creep definitely happened after the income went up. And I'm kind of on this like minimalist, simplified journey for myself. And so I'm kind of like, let's get rid of this and create the life we really want for the future. And part of that is paying attention to our budget.
Let's what's interesting, let's not gloss over this because you're like the great American story. You got married when you were 19 is from what I right? You've got how many children?
2 adult children, girls.
And grandchildren. As of last night, you have another grandchild.
Right, yes.
So
we have
and your husband went back to school when he was 30, so he could be in a position to be making $190,000 a year. Right.
So before that, he worked in the car service industry as a manager.
What? Wait a second. So, I'm not kidding. This is like an amazing story. So you got married super young. You worked, let's say, blue-collar sort of hybrid position.
Right.
Educated yourself. Now, what were you doing at that time?
So I was actually homeschooling our children at the time.
Okay.
And then when he decided he wanted to go back to school, we sold everything we owned and moved in with my mom. And he did school full-time even through the summer for 3 years to get his degree. And that was actually the same, when he graduated the same year, the tech bubble burst.
Okay, yeah.
And we had no idea whether or not he was going to find a job. So we moved back to Arizona at that time, and we bought a house without a job. And the rest was history, because that was like lifestyle creep started happening because he got the job and things like that. But and then I supported our family on like $7.50 an hour while he was in school, because that's all I could make at the time.
You've come so far. You've come so far.
And we slept on a futon for 3 years.
Well, it's like college.
Yes, it was exactly like college. And then after he graduated, I went back to school and got my degree.
So this is an interesting thing for me, because you guys then got to a point where you're making a ton of money. This spirit of minimalism starts to creep in. You've got to be very proud of where you've come from, being married for 27 years. But now we've hit a pretty big bump in the road, and you don't seem tremendously shaken. You've got like a quiet confidence about you. Do you feel that way, or are you good at masking things?
I think I hold it all in. There's definitely a level of anxiety happening. But I also am optimistic because I feel like he's gotten a new lease on life. He needed this. The last 2 years have been extremely stressful, and I think it's a good time for us to reinvent what our future looks like.
Sure.
And I think either way, we'll figure it out, and we'll be okay. We've gone through much worse circumstances, right? So it's not like we have any more college tuition to pay or children to feed. So I feel like, in worst case scenario, I'll start selling stuff. Yeah. or scale down our house. We have a good size house for 2 people. So, I just feel like the stuff and our lifestyle, if it needs to change, we'll change it and do something different.
Isn't this funny how as we grow as people and learn and go through experiences, in some circumstances like the one you're in, you're actually now prepared to have this moment.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. Yep.
I find that, look, we can get religious, we can get mystical, we can do whatever, but I find that brilliantly spooky and wonderful that we almost end up prepared to deal with some garbage based on what we've already been through. And I think it's fantastic.
Right.
That's how you cope.
Yeah, had it happened 3 years ago, I definitely would have been in a different state.
No, I feel you.
The timing actually was okay. So.
Well, let's do this. Let's take a look long term and see, because right now we've got some short term instability. I want to know long term what your life looks at. So we've got your $1 million day calculated. So Bree, if you can punch that up for us, let's take a look at Tatiana's $1 million day. It's October 28th of 2027, and this is based on the money you have in long term savings now and putting away $500 a month. That's 11/28. 2027. So I will just say, wherever you live at that time in 2027, 3 days later on Halloween, some kids in your neighborhood may be getting full-size Snickers. It's very possible.
Right?
Right. I'm going to your house. I'm bringing my kids to your house in 2027 because you're going to have full-size Snickers, which is fantastic. Now let's look at what that means for you income-wise at retirement. At age 67, you're on pace, based on what you have going on right now, to have $2.36 million. So at age 67, if nothing else changes, you don't take any more money out of your accounts and you keep putting $500 in, you're on pace at $2.36 million, which is a net monthly income of $5. By the way, I can hear you writing, which I love. Like, it's just like, I gotta write this down. It makes me feel like people listen to me. So I gotta write this down. It turns out when I talk to my wife, she never writes anything down. Anyway, 5,000.
Well, I am 46. I can't remember anything anymore.
That's fair.
So.
Hey, you're only 7 years older than me, so don't make me feel. $5,527 is your monthly income, but because of inflation, right? Your income is going to feel like $3,290 a month, $3,290 a month. All right, so here's the question. I just gave you a lot of numbers. Do you need any of those again?
You said it was 5,527.
Yep.
And then inflation was 3,290.
Okay, so here's the question. Can you conceive a time in which you can afford, you and your husband, to live on $3,000 and change a month right now? Could you live on $3,200 a month right now?
If we had zero debt and no, including our mortgage,
Right.
yes.
Okay.
But it would not be the retirement we would want.
When your husband's job went away, I assume he was putting some money away for retirement, right?
Yeah, we had both maxed out our 401k and for the last 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
And then when we got on this debt-free kind of thing in January, we had decided to stop contributing to his, one, because of the layoff, and then also to throw down some cash.
Sure.
So yeah.
So we've got an interesting scenario in which we've got to do a couple things. Number one, when he secures a job again, you're going to crank back up that savings, which is going to move up your $1 million day, and it's going to increase your savings for retirement. But we also have to not creep your lifestyle back up, right? I mean, hasn't that been your lifelong problem?
Yes. Yes, it has.
You know, this is interesting to me for a lot of reasons, because when I think about your lifestyle creep issue, I think about my relationship with food. Like, I go in these pockets where I get really healthy, and then I stop caring for no particular reason. Is that how you've been? Are you starting to stop?
It's really hard to persist, right?
Right.
We live in a neighborhood where lifestyle creep is natural.
Right.
That the income levels around us were the same as what ours were. So it's tough.
What kind of cars do you have, and how old are they?
Okay, so my husband has a 2013 Dodge Ram 1500 truck.
So he's like a real man. He's like a man. Like
right, because the boat, the motorcycle, all that, right? So, and then I have a 2015 Nissan Leaf.
Oh, look at you. Do you drink the water that comes out of the exhaust?
I could, I guess.
Don't do that. I don't know if that's safe. Don't do that. I just like every time I see a Nissan Leaf, one was in my neighborhood the other day. I saw like a little drip coming out of the exhaust, and you hear it's water, right, or something. I don't know.
I've never noticed that, but yeah, my grandson calls it my spaceship. So
how do you like that car?
I absolutely love it, except the range. You know, it's like 87 miles, so I can never really run away from my life. But
I tried to get away, but I ran out of battery.
Yeah, but I also work at home.
Okay.
So I don't really drive a lot.
Sure. So here's the $1 million question.
I kind of wonder why I even have the car, but I like being green. So
I got to know, do you get more anxiety over running out of battery on your car or your cell phone?
I'm horrible at plugging in my cell phone, my husband plugs in my car for me.
So wait a second. You can't plug in your own stuff?
I am so anti-technology. Like, it just bothers me to have to deal with all that. So
I love it.
I know.
I love
I'm like
it.
an old soul. But last night on the way back from the hospital, because our second grandson was born, I was running out of battery.
Oh,
I was
my
down
gosh.
to like 7 miles, and I still had a good 5 miles to go. But it like blinks at you and warns you you're out of juice almost. And I was like, okay. I'm like taking side roads and to get home at 2 a.m. in the morning. So
that's terrifying.
Yeah, I kind of push it, though. That's how I was when I had a gas car as well. If it was on E, I was like, okay, how many more miles can I go? So, Yeah.
So fossil fuels or otherwise, you tend to push them to their limits.
Exactly.
So here's how I look at your financial situation. Long term, we got some work to do, but that work is done when reemployment occurs, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we've been carrying a lot of debt from a big mistake we made, and that's the one that is killing me. That I just want to destroy.
Can I hear more about this mistake?
So, when the housing market crashed, we had a home, and we had two homes. One we were renting, and one giant, overpriced McMansion.
Ah, yes.
That we thought was our final destination, and it had a casita and all this, right? It was like way too big for us, 4,600 square feet, over $500,000 home. We took out money out of our previous home for the down payment on that home, so even more stupid. So when we had to short sell, because we had a job like pay reduction at that time, companies were doing that, we couldn't afford to keep them both. So we short sold them both. But out of that, we still owed to one of our creditors that HELOC that we took out to pay for the down payment on the second house.
Oh, man.
So we have been paying that $60K original amount for the last 10 years.
Whew, that's an expensive mistake.
Yeah, so every time I look at it, I just go, there's our mistake again.
That is the example you just gave is like the example when you read about the housing meltdown. Like, were you in Phoenix at that time or in the Arizona area at that time?
We were in Phoenix, and what was crazy is we were trying to do the right thing, right? So, but really we just made all of the banks and realtors fat. All of our friends were literally walking away from their houses and buying new houses and didn't have any, like, repercussions on their credit. So we just bought our current house 2 years ago once the 7 years of our short sell fell off our credit.
So what you were saying is your friends were doing what's called a strategic default, where you just let it go to foreclosure and you say, well, a business would do it this way because we're just doing what's best for us. And then when they're defaulting on a mortgage by making it go into foreclosure, they're not doing it out of hardship per se. What they're doing is then they're pocketing what would be the payment for those months to then fund the next purchase.
Right.
Yeah, that drives me nuts, by the way. So I'm glad you didn't do that.
Yeah, we are too. I mean, it was still strategic. It was a financial decision we had to make. We couldn't make an emotional decision, but it was hard because it like didn't have the effect we thought it would.
Sure.
It still was very negative on us. So never again.
So to me, as we sort of begin to wrap up here, I feel like your situation is it's screaming for a fresh start, right?
Yeah.
And and you've tiptoed into the fresh start, and now your hand is being forced to get the fresh start. And so the real question becomes: will you, when your husband gets his next job, will you actually press go on a fresh start, or will you continue to sort of tiptoe towards a fresh start?
I am very. I look at my net worth. I look at our debt levels, and I have a side hustle of selling stuff on OfferUp because I am determined to get out of this.
Yeah.
By 2019, I want to have everything paid off except our house by 2019, and then I want to just throw down and not have a mortgage. I have our parents are in their 70s and they have 30-year mortgages, and I do not want to be in that position. So I'm committed to making a change. There's nothing I need. So, yes.
I think it's fun, right? This is a classic example of there's a difference between having a lot of money and not needing a lot of money, right?
Right.
And you have had, when your husband had that last job, you guys were well over $200,000 a year in income. You had a lot of money, but you also needed a lot of money. And so that transition point is going to be the difference between a successful retirement or you being yet another victim of this retirement crisis.
Right.
Oh, man. And you know what? There's so
Exactly.
many chapters left to write in the book, though, too. It's not like I can say, do this, and hey, we're good to go. I mean, this is a choose your own adventure of the highest level because we don't even know what's happening in April at this point.
Right. I mean, ideally, what I thought would happen is had we continued with the income, we would start doing some real investing, right? We don't really have an investment portfolio outside of our 401k and an annuity.
Right.
So I did open a Vanguard brokerage account
Good.
as my ER savings and put in some to the actually being investment and the rest in a money market fund just to keep that going. But yeah, I feel like we need to get back on track with that once the job comes through.
Have you calculated your power percentage yet?
What is that? I have no idea what you're talking
Our power percentage is a tool we use, a metric we use in our offices to say how dependent are you on your income. So I'm not. The best way to do it is go to episode 120 of the $1 Million Plan, and just listen to it, episode 120, and then calculate it. And or watch the first episode of PeteThePlanner.tv. We talk about power percentage there, and calculate it. And the scale is. You'll see, but if you're below 10%, you're in trouble. If you're above 35%, you're on the path to a successful retirement, and then there's some things in between. So check that out, if you will.
I will. Okay.
Any other things I can answer for you now? Again, I'm not going to have a tidy answer for you, Tatiana. I'm not going to have do this and this and you're good to go. But is there anything else I can weigh in on for you?
Yeah, I guess, and this I think will end up coming down to whether he has a job or not, but he does have a bonus expected in mid-March, and it could be anywhere between, I think, 20 and like 50,000 or something, which is a good chunk of change. And my first inclination is to kind of put our emergency savings up to 50K and then throw the rest down at, car loans or the promissory note from that HELOC.
Yeah. How much is
but
left
I don't
on the
know
HELOC?
What's best. The HELOC has 36.5. The lease car is 27K, and the truck is 19.
What kind of interest rate do you have on the HELOC?
2%.
2? Mm-hmm. Man, that's not bad. You almost got out scot-free from that terrible situation.
I know, right?
Jeez.
So it hasn't been a priority to pay it off because it's like 2%.
So I'm going to give you practical advice because I'm not too interested in technicalities when real life bumps into them. I want you also to take your account to 50 and then use the remainder to pay down the lowest balance debt and try to get that thing taken care of.
Okay. Yeah.
Awesome.
What I was thinking.
What else?
What is better for once we want to start saving and investing? I like what Vanguard does with their accounts, but is there a better vehicle? And I haven't explored like ETFs or anything or municipal bonds once our income goes up, because I feel like we need to look at tax saving strategies once that happens. Yeah,
that's a great question. Number one, Vanguard does a great job. Very low cost investing. You can even do some tax sensitive investing through Vanguard. And I will say this, and this sounds like a non-answer to your question, but sometimes we get distracted by our investments. You do need an investment strategy. That's very obvious. But what is going to make or break your financial life is not your investment strategy. It's your income strategy. So it's how you deal with your income. So that's why I do like something like Vanguard, because it can be pretty hands-off. And it's so low cost that you're not saying to yourself, am I getting ripped off here? Which can be a big distraction.
Right. Right.
So, yeah, there's my non-answer. It's Vanguard's fine. Don't get distracted by your investments, because your real concern here is getting your power percentage where it needs to be.
Okay. I will definitely check that out.
All right. Congrats on your new grandson. If you happen to have named him Pete the Planner, that's both cool and weird, but I doubt that you did that.
I doubt that would have flown by. Yeah.
All right. Well, best of luck. Please keep us updated. I would love an email when your husband re-secures a job, and let us know what you're doing.
Very good. Thanks so much for taking my call.
No,
into my problem.
my pleasure. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, so that's it
Bye-bye.
this week for the $1 Million Plan. You can watch this episode if you aren't already on PeteThePlanner.tv. dig deep into your power percentage. That's this week's lesson, because when the getting's good and you're not going, well, it's going to flip back on you like it did in this situation. But I have a lot of confidence that Tatiana will turn it around. At age 46, she's already figured this out. Your 40s, your late 40s to your early 50s is the hardest time in your financial life. Sometimes that's even without a layoff like they're dealing with right now. So that's it for this week. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, I'm Pete the Planner.
If you want to be on this podcast and have Pete fix your money life, then hit us up at PeteThePlanner.com/podcast. You heard me. PeteThePlanner.com/podcast. Log on.
This is for information purposes only. It's not the Swiss financial planning device. Consult a financial advisor.
Released from Everest, the fresh is fresh, and you can call me E.T. Word to John Tesh. Let me bless this harmonic presentation. It's amazing, so amazing. I'm the reason. Salutations, I bring you love, trying greetings from a faraway land. I am the sole controller. Put the remote down and let me take control. You're now a part of my zone, so enjoy yourself. Love Tron can restore your health. I bring you greetings, salutations. How you doing? And is that how y'all say it? The tinkling of the keys is an homage to the little star. I sojourn over poetic descriptions of sound and travel to my other world. Out of this world, spaceship on my arm took me home, fueled by the ink and the megabytes and the hypertext transfer protocol, stronger than the Skynet and the Terminator. I push faders into warp speed, glide with ease, creating a breeze they call a black hole. Event horizon, no rear view concerns. This I adjourn, and beats I burn. This I adjourn, and beats I burn. Salutations, I bring you love, trying greetings from a faraway land. I am the sole controller. Put the remote down and let me take control. You're now a part of my zone, so enjoy yourself. Love Tron can restore your health. I bring you greetings, salutations. How you doing? And is that how y'all say it?